So the reason why I put these together is so that people can look into their own charts, right? And really, because I found that I've gone back to it so many times throughout different periods in my life, and then found questions answered. Like I'll go and seek questions when things come up. And by going through the process of looking and juxtaposing all the charts from the Mayan to the Genekeys to the Human Design to the Vedic astrology and the Western astrology, there's certain things that highlight, and those things that highlight kind of confirm themselves. And I wanted to, this is a service that I have on my webpage, using ancient systems of gnosis to, get to know yourself better and just kind of help propel you in the direction you want. But it's something that I encourage people to do on their own, like as a kind of, knowing thyself process, like tools to, that we should just always have it and can go to. So thank you so much for doing this. And I'm going to get started by sharing the screen. So I'm going to screen share. I started off by, looking at your main chart, and which would be this one right here. That's your transit. So let's just look at it from this perspective, which I find is much easier. Can you see the screen that I'm looking at?
I do, yes.
Okay, perfect. So this just shows the transits of your day. This website here is really cool. It shows like what's transiting, and then if you click on any of the text, it'll give you like a little note on what that transit represents. Here it shows your personal chart, and I like the way it's just lined out so it's easy to see. You have your sun in Scorpio in the 7th house, your moon in Virgo in the 5th house, Mercury, Scorpio 7th house, Venus, Scorpio 7th house, and then so on and so forth. And what these represent are like, different aspects of how consciousness is translating through your way of seeing the world and being here in the world, right? So your sun is like your main, it's basically your personality, okay, and how you express yourself through your personality. And so they each represent different parts of yourself. Mercury is the mind, right? And it's how you communicate. It's how your mind is working with consciousness, and that's in Scorpio in the 7th house as well. So you have this kind of reoccurring theme with Scorpio in the 7th house. So I want to dig into that right away.
Okay.
And then if you have any questions about, the other planets, but we'll keep on kind of like circling back, and more questions will be answered on the other planets later.
Perfect.
So we'll start with Scorpio in the 7th house. Scorpio's, it's a really interesting, like the way that they describe it, that everybody describes it throughout all the platforms, is it represents sex, death, and taxes. So they kind of like put that, right? So it's like, it's this really intense, it's like everything from life to death, right? Everything to do with like institutions, and it could be inheritance or taxes, and everything to do with the deep primordial kind of energies of emotion, which is represented as well with sex. So it's a very intense sign, like to begin with. Out of all the signs, like Scorpio is super intense. And so you're working with that energy, right? Like you are not this, you're something way bigger. You're a soul that comes in, and then here's your blueprint. This is what you have to work with. And then you're working with Scorpio. Right. And it's in the 7th house. So the 7th house is kind of like the houses or the containers from which the sign energy unravels. So it's like the soil from which the flower grows. So Scorpio as a flower is growing from the container of the 7th house, which is everything to do with partnership, marriage, relationships, Okay, so it's the house of justice, it's the house of balance, it's the house of harmony as well, but it's inter it's not the, let's say there's it's the energy of interdependence, right? So you have like the independent energies and houses where the energy is like more contained within itself. The seventh house is interdependent, so it's constantly engaging with the outside world and with other people. So your Scorpio intense energy is constantly enmeshed and entangled with the people around you. So how I perceive this is that a lot of how you experience things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just from looking at this, would be through emotional exchange. Like I would kind of see this as someone with this placement would experience a lot of feeling, like constant like feeling, and very perceptive of the feelings of others, like kind of always having to navigate waters within the relationship, emotional waters within relationship, because you're going to pick up on things that other people aren't going to pick up on.
100%.
When it comes to this like underlining energy. And so, some people are like, if it was an Aries in the seventh house, and Aries is all about the self, so there would really be like a distinction between that person and other people, whereas Scorpio, the energy gets enmeshed. So probably when you were younger, you might have had difficulty separating your energy from the energy of the people around you.
I still do till today. I'm extremely empathetic, and I feel everything. I'll walk in a room and I know if there was an argument, there's going to be an argument, the tension, the sadness. Yeah, I remember being a little kid in school looking at my teacher thinking, I think they had an argument with their spouse the night before. And all I could think of that whole time in class was, how does she feel? Why is she sad? I wonder what they were fighting about. Like, Yeah, dead on.
Yeah, so because it's not only in your sun sign, this energy is brought forward in your Mercury, which is your mind and your communication. So it doubles down. And then it's also in your Venus. So Venus, everything to do with, your relationship to the arts, to love, to beauty, and again, to relationship. So this energy is really, really present for you to work with as, we're here on missions, right? And I'll get into that after, but we're here. Some of us are here on very specific missions, and in your galactic chart, I could see that you're here on a specific mission. And I'll show you why after, but this energy is what you're using to push you forward on your mission. It's the energy, it's all of the little challenges that happen through the emotional exchanges with people. And when there's strong emotions, you're a Scorpio, so you might not feel the burning so much, but for myself as a Leo, like I feel through the emotional exchanges, it's like the whole body can go through that death and transformation process.
My friend Ashta's that way. She's a Leo and she feels it. And I'm like, calm down. Like, I'm cut off of it. I'm like, they don't need to be so sad. She's like, you're such a Scorpio. Like, you're so cut off. Like, I the death and rebirth, I'm so okay with. I was in a nursing home in palliative care, and I was okay holding them, and, they were moving on to the afterlife, and I was fine. Like, sad. I love them, like I'm not cold, I do feel, I do get sad, but yeah, I'm okay. Like, I'm really okay with that. Like, Yeah,
because I think it's your element, right? So it's your element. And when you're in your element, you're not going to feel it. Like a fish doesn't feel itself. It only feels itself when it comes out of water. So in a sense, you're in your element.
I always talk about too, it's so weird. I don't know why, but it seems like when everyone else is going through turmoil and bad times, they're like, oh my God, time's so rough for whatever reason. I'm doing my best. And I'm like, why is it so bad for everyone? And then when everyone's like happy-go-lucky, and then that's when I will go through my turmoil or my, dark night of the soul thing.
Yeah, the energies are always balancing themselves out, right? And we're used by divine intelligence to balance these energies out, and we all have our purpose, and we can see our purpose, you know, most practically through our charts, right? So like it makes sense, you know, when other people, yeah. So so this energy of Scorpio also shows itself in Pluto, and Pluto is the aspect of your consciousness which is really pushing for death and transformation, for alchemy, right? To take one thing and turn it into another thing, lead into gold. And so it shows up again under Pluto. And so you're again using this energy of working with emotions, working with other people to help propel them through the death and transformation process. So for you, like you said, you don't feel things as much, but for other people coming around you, there's going to be a lot of movement within them. They're gonna feel a lot, and you're going to provoke a lot, and that's part of your medicine. It's that catalytic energy.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So so this is kind of confirmed in, if I look at your gene keys, your gene keys, you have your life work is under line 4. So you have different lines, and some people are fixers, some people are creators, and line 4 is a server. I'm a server as well in my gene key. And so we're here, it's almost like we're again here on a mission. And part of that mission is why we're at service to other people. So you're bringing in this energy to really kind of help certain changes happen within the reality field during your lifetime.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so the energy that you're bringing in is this transformative energy of death and rebirth, and the catalytic energy, you know, to catalyze people and transform people through relationship, and through, you know, the emotions that they're going to feel through those relationships. So so this is really interesting. This is like the underlying kind of energy that you're working with. Again, it corresponds like in your Mayan astrology. Your day sign is water, and water again is all about purification. And so you're here assisting in this emotional purification of the collective mind and of the human race during this time. And so, you know, it's seen as, you know, it's water was very special in Mayan ceremonies, right? There's a lot of sacrifice involved in having this as a day sign. So you'll find yourself having to kind of sacrifice different aspects of yourself, probably throughout, you know, your things are slowly going to change because we go through different phases, but probably up until you're 39 years old, there's going to be a lot of emotional sacrifice, a lot of sacrificing on with relationships. And it could have been just like the family that you were born into, you know, certain set parameters that were around you, which kind of made you have to sacrifice different aspects of yourself and be at service through bringing forth this emotional scorpionic energy to help transform situations around you. So, so it says here in certain Mayan rituals, people pray for the element of water to harmonize and purify their society and community. These ceremonies are an essential part of their lives in terms of living in united collective power and harmony. Water sign on the sacred calendar is also called fire because it transforms, as these ceremonies have a fireplace or candles at their hearts. Hence, the energy of this sign is like fire, burning negativities, purifying and harmonizing. So, so it's a very beautiful energy, and it just going to the Mayan astrology just kind of confirms what this is. That's why I like just juxtaposing them, because it's like, okay, if it shows up in all these different systems, this is really what is coming forth as what it is, as what the energy is. Wow. And how are you purifying? Through wind, through communication, through your relationships. So I'm kind of curious, like, are you someone, because I know Scorpios tend to also like, there's that aspect of like secret, they're kind of hidden, because they're so, they don't always want to come out, right? Scorpios can tend to want to hide. And so I'm curious, like, do you have a lot of communication in your life? Do you have a lot of different people like moving through your life in that way?
I don't. Okay. I really don't. I feel I don't communicate enough. And also, I think that's why I have thyroid issues. It's like my throat chakra, I hold a lot back. I hold a lot in, and I wait. I just like, whatever, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not, but yeah, I do. I hold a lot back.
Yeah. So this is just confirming to you that, speaking is part of your purpose, and this is like, the challenging thing, because as soon as we open our mouths and talk, we send a ripple wave through the morphogenetic field of everyone around us, and we transform them. So there's kind of this sense of responsibility, right? Yeah. That can always sort of pull us back out of fear of how we're going to affect those around us.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that this showed up in your human design. So in your human design, you have different channels that are fixed within your system. And this brings in astrology. It brings in the I Ching. It brings in a whole bunch of different ancient models, and then kind of like puts it all into a system for us to see how the energies can be expressed differently than just looking at an astrology chart. And the energy centers that complete themselves within you, you have 3 that complete themselves. The other ones up here where the throat is, are these ones here. So inspiration channel, the exploration, and the struggle. And so what I noted down was, just the basics of it. So the struggle, the meaning, the search for deeper purpose. And that comes through these exchanges that you have with other people, where everything that we discussed about how you affect people is also how people are going to affect you, because it's that energy of Scorpio in the 7th house. So it's, it's not one way, it's a 2-way system. So as much as you're sending out transformation and alchemy through, your relationships with others, it's going to always come back into yourself and recycle itself. So there's a struggle in that, and kind of putting yourself out there and speaking with people, because the transformation comes back as well onto you. So the more you put yourself out there, the more you kind of transform these layers within yourself and alchemize layers within yourself as well as the other person. So the gate of power, which is exploration, is empowering others through right action of being. So this is where this challenge of mastering it, like mastering this challenge of being in communication with others and bringing forth your medicine of this like scorpionic transformative energy, will help you refine and master how to be empowered and how to empower others through it. And then it will kind of like bring you to this place, we have all these lessons, lesson after lesson after lesson. And then eventually, we become masters at what we do. And so you're mastering kind of like being able to speak and bring forth this deep kind of platonic energy of understanding things on an emotional, subconscious level. Like you have the capacity to see what's happening in the subconscious mind, like you mentioned earlier, just pick up on all this stuff, right? And so you'll master how to use that for the benefit of yourself and everyone. As time goes on, the more you use it. And that's kind of like part of your gift, right? It's part of your gift that you're here doing with this energy. And a lot of it is, you know, through kind of inspiring people and being, it says truly, so the channel of inspiration is to be truly creative and to empower others. So a lot of your energy, a lot of your, like the energy that you're bringing forth has to do with artistic and like everything artistic, everything higher learning. You know, so studying could be anything from history to art to culture, and also spiritual knowledge. Right. So a lot of how you're going to be affecting other people is not just like, you know, through the emotional exchange, but it's also through this inspirational kind of exchange of ideas. And so it was kind of corresponding somewhere where you tend to give a lot of ideas away. You're someone who will just sort of like, and you've mastered the art of like bringing the artistry into your home. And really fine tuning, like having that inspiration in your home for yourself. So you're probably really good at like the details, as you were mentioning earlier with the plants, right? It's like you've mastered that. That's because that's in your South Node, and your South Node is what you've mastered in previous lives.
Makes sense.
What's that?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So now the energy is bringing you to do that with other people in this life. So you've already mastered. You can probably live alone, be a hermit, and then have this crazy environment where you just like, you know, bring so much beauty and artistic expression into your environment and have a palace, right? And then the energy that's calling forth in this lifetime is about sharing that with others. And then, you know, inspiring others through this artistic mind and this artistic way of how you transmute emotion into art.
Wow.
Yeah, and that shows up in your Vedic astrology in your moon, which is in Leo, right? And Leo it's all about artistic expression, creativity, and having an authority in that as well, an authority over artistic expression. And it's in the nakshatra of Purafalgundi. I can't say these, some of them I can't say, but and it's in Pada 1. So I looked into that, and that's kind of where your mind is focused, and it's very much on this artistic expression and being able to gift that to other people. So So I want to touch a little bit on, I'll show you this chart here. Where is it? This one here, just to give you like a general overview. And if you can see most of your planets, oops, that was not meant to, hold on a second. Okay, most of your planets are in these houses here. So they're all kind of like in the 7th house.
Right.
Of relationships, marriage, exchanges, you know, balance, finding fairness in relationships and harmony. And in the 8th house of transformation, of this like subconscious realm of understanding like these undercurrents and transformative energy, like the fire water of transformation. And then the 9th house, which is higher learning. And so the energy is all sort of concentrated here. And so that kind of gives you an idea of like the energy. If you're reading your own chart and you're going to look into this more, which I recommend people do, is, you know, to start looking. You can go on YouTube and then you just search your sun sign in Scorpio in the 7th house, you know, Pluto in Scorpio in the 7th house. Venus in Scorpio in the 7th house, Mercury in Scorpio in the 7th house. And then it's going to give you, and I like to listen to a few different ones because the energies are similar, but people express them a bit differently. So it kind of gives you like this general overview. And then you'd go through all your planets essentially. And then you'd see what, your Mars in the 11th house represents. Just as a general, having Mars in your 11th, Mars is your drive. It's your desires, it's your drive, it's your warrior, the warrior within you. And its placement in the 11th house, which is it's like the big picture of humanity, right? It's what's happening on the world stage. It's what's happening in the collective. So this is often probably why you find yourself fighting for these larger causes. You'll bring that energy of Mars into, issues that are happening on a large scale, right? Yeah. And then Jupiter in your 12th house. This is the most, there's a few positions that are really interesting. So Jupiter in your 12th house is at 13 degrees. 13 degrees is the most psychic degree. And Jupiter is the planet of higher learning. It's the planet of foreign travel. It's the planet of luck, right? It's also the planet of risk. It's everything to do with kind of gambling, as well, but it's really this kind of this planet of wisdom, right? So it's the part of ourselves that brings forth wisdom. And it's at 13 degrees. So it's at a kind of pivotal degree where you're getting a lot of psychic hits on higher learning. Information is coming through, right? About stuff. Maybe you'll just have like insights, you'll just get these like downloads and insights.
Oh, Jessica, you have no idea. I'll have a thought on something. Like, I wonder what's up with this Tartaria maps and all that, for example, lo and behold, it's popping up on YouTube. It's popping up on my TV. I'm seeing posters outside, and then I'll get the information I need every single time, no matter what it is. I'm like, hey, I want to know about this. It just comes in.
Yeah.
So wild.
So this is where we're going with this session, right? Because we're going somewhere with this after looking at everything. I'm just tapping into the beginning stuff, but this is really what we're tapping into now is what you're talking about. And the 12th house is everything to do with the higher realms, with spirit, with the astral, with the higher imagination, right? Everything to do with otherworldly things. It also has to do with closing karmic debts, on the flip side, the negative side, because there's polarity with everything. We could be talking about, insanity and, asylums and, psychosis and stuff like that. So we're always moving towards the exalted form of it, which is this like really spiritual kind of mission, right, that you're personally on, where you're working towards, and we're all on this path. And it's like, we don't know where we're going, but we know we need information to accomplish certain things. And we're like, so you're sending out these like, okay, Tartaria, I need this, I need that. And Jupiter being in this placement, being here is like, it's an open channel for you to master this, and really understanding that because this is your placement in your birth chart, this is something that an energy that is natural for you. It's a natural gift to be able to do this, right? To work with the synchronicities. And so the more you hone in on this energy, the more you're going to get psychic hits about the things that you need to learn to complete different tasks and different missions happening within yourself.
Makes so much sense. That's the story of my life.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. So this energy confirms itself really strongly. And your Jupiter is in Pisces, which doubles down on this energy, because Pisces is represented by the 12th house. It's everything to do with the psychic realms and the imagination. So people, if you go and you search on YouTube, you'll see that anybody who has Jupiter in the 12th house is typically a guru or some sort of master. You know, there's a lot of people of higher learning that have this placement. It's usually an indication that this person comes in with a lot of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. And they're able to start sharing that with other people, right? Depending on the positions and the placements within their chart, that's what they might be here to do. But either way, this energy of having mastered something of these, this higher knowing and this divine intelligence is present here. So Jupiter and Pisces in the 12th house with the 13th degree is just like, oh, like it's such a mind-blowing position. So the more you look into that, you'll see. Yeah, so that's really cool that you have that in your chart, and then understanding that placement, understanding all the placements, building it up, but then understanding really what you can not personally obtain, but what it can bring to your life in terms of your soul mission here is going to be truly valuable. Understanding how to master this energy and really seeing it for what it is. So in opposition, you have a few oppositions. So oppositions are when you have two energies that are opposing each other, that kind of like almost try to nullify the function of that other placement. And so opposite of this Jupiter in Pisces in the 12th house at 13th degree is your moon. And your moon is in Virgo in the 5th house. So let me just see if that corresponds here. Yeah, so moon and Virgo in the 5th house. So I was thinking about this and I was trying to understand what this energy is. Virgo is all about hard work, right? It's all about routines. It's about like the daily grind. You know, it's about health, like your physical health, everything to do with healing as well. But it's a very practical energy and it's a very earthly energy. And it's in the 5th house. So it's in the house of, family, creativity, and kind of inner authority, outer authority. It's a very fiery energy. And so it's an interesting energy to have in opposition to Jupiter, because it's like you have Jupiter in such an exalted state of being in Pisces in the 12th house and getting all these downloads and really connecting to these higher realms. And then what's opposing that is your moon. And your moon is where your mind is focused. So it's your emotions, moon is supposed to be like your emotions and sort of what comes in and just sweeps you off your feet. Like you just have these, different mood swings. Well, your moon and this energy that's opposing Jupiter and this higher learning is Virgo. So the very practical side of life, the very routine, mundane, like I'm sure you can just get lost in this mundane routine, right? And just like
big time.
Yeah. And also maybe, family, which is normal, right? But family and kind of like that playful energy in the home, and bringing like the creative energy in the home. So it's like a focus of the home and like this practicality, and then having these downloads, which might come out of nowhere and just like knock you off so you're in this practical mode in your house and you're just doing your like daily grind. And then it's like, boom, this energy comes in from, you're like, whoa, what was that? And then you want to chase after that. And then your moon is pulling you back into this very practical energy.
100%. You're absolutely right. There's times where I'm all in my mode. Like, okay, I'm super organized. I'm like almost militant mom. Like, make your bed. Let's do this. We have to have supper, breakfast, like everything has to be done so perfect. And then, like you said, a download will come in. The fun thing now, I've been running with it. So like, I'll go off on like a 3-day tangent of like, I'm spiritual and I'm getting all this magic and, and I'll float with it. And then I always end up going back and I'm grounded, like super grounded. And then like super fiery, like, yeah, I'll bounce back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is the natural opposing energies that you're working with. And, if you've mastered that and then that's cool. Because
yeah, I've been bouncing back now that I'm older.
mm-hmm.
When I was younger, it was more of a like, what's happening? It's all these random things happening. I was always able to like compartmentalize everything and just like, okay, I'm going to go back to you. I'm so organized. I really am. I'm just like, I'm a good manager,
Mm.
And, yeah. So you're absolutely right with that. More now than before.
Mm-hmm.
Random pop-ins of like, I'm in this like magic ride for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. So that's it. So these are good. Some people will have these oppositions, and depending on what stage you are in life, it might be more of a challenge, right? And then when you come to kind of master them, you're like, oh, I know what's going on. Like you said, okay, I got to go on a 3-day tangent with this.
Yeah.
Right. But then being able to come back to this very grounded energy, is really cool, right? Because it's the opposite. It's what we need, because we're here to bring everything that we're connecting to on these higher levels into embodiment here, right? So it's a nice kind of balance, because we want to bring this knowledge and wisdom and allow it to transform who we are on a practical level, so that it seeps out through, our being, our ways of being, our words, our communication, and everything we do here. So very cool.
Yeah.
This Jupiter energy shows up. I'll look at your galactic chart for a few minutes. So you have planetary bodies, like you have your the chart that we were looking at, or how your consciousness, how consciousness is influencing you on all these different parts with the basic planetary bodies. And then outside of our galactic system, right, we have, or not outside of the galactic system, but outside of our solar system, we have we have other influences affecting us. And so we can look to see what kind of reconfirms itself, right, in those energies. And so what I was speaking about earlier with your soul mission is people who have their midhaven. So everything to do with their legacy, their reputation, how others see them, kind of what they're here to do on a global scale, like, the work that they're here to do is in Lyra. And Lyra is one of the oldest planetary bodies in the system. So a lot of people believe that we all kind of originated from Lyra. And also Centauri, Centaurus, and Andromeda. And so it is described that people who have, because you can have all these different, let's say, galactic planets influencing you, right? People who would be coined as a star seed, for example, they would have typically a real strong influence of a galactic planet in their sun sign. But in reality, when you're looking at the whole system, the more that we understand how this works, we do have other galactic influences of higher consciousness coming in at different stages in life. So a lot of people that don't have, these outer planets really focused in the sun sign or the moon sign often tap into higher consciousness later on in life. So you have these energies that you're tapping into probably now, that you might not have been tapping into when you were younger. And going back quickly just to talk about Lyra, Lyra is one of the oldest systems. And so I would say that you're an old soul by looking at this, and you're here on a very specific mission. Because people who have Lyra in their midhaven, it's like you're here doing the work of a type of consciousness that is here to influence what's happening on the global stage. So everyone who has this energy kind of plays their part in bringing forth this energy. So you would want to research this. You'd want to research Lyra once you finish doing all of the research on your basic chart, on the solar system and how the planets here in the solar system are influencing your being, then you can go to the outer planets and look at how they're influencing your being and your consciousness and what kind of consciousness you're tapping into and bringing forth. So
that's amazing. I always felt like I was called here. Like I heard that call that, Earth needs help, and I came.
Yeah.
There's a whole story I'll tell you one day when we're together, and wow. I'm definitely gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I have Lyra in my midhaven as well, right? And your midhaven's in Capricorn. Capricorn is the hardest working, so you're doing a lot of work here. And it doesn't mean this whole thing about the midhaven being everything to do with your public image doesn't necessarily mean that the person is on the public stage, is out on the world stage, right? We can have these really strong missions where we're working on deeper layers with energy, and we're kind of manipulating energy, right? Because this is like, you can look at the material world and then you look at the underlying world, which is an energetic matrix of connectivity. And so we can be manipulating energy and within these unseen forces, and that is part of our mission, and it shows up here in the midhaven. So you don't have to be on the world stage to have this really strong mission. And many people could live their whole lives, no one would even know who they are, and they'd like the amount of work that they did while they were here is just mind-blowing,
Okay.
Yeah. So but there's definitely, Capricorn is indicating that there's a lot of hard work with the work that you're doing here. If it was Leo, be a little bit more playful, but Capricorn is like, the work you're doing is serious and it's hard work. So that's a confirmation for you. Good. I also feel like, because I have Lyra in my midhaven, that I've been on a mission my whole life. And I'm kind of curious how that showed up for you, because for me, it's like, I just have such a strong inner knowing about where I have to go. Like, even it's like, what the heck am I doing here? It's just like something inside of me is like, you have to be there. You have to do this. It's part of this like grand play. Don't worry about it. But it's like just really strong.
Yep. I'm the same way since I was a little girl. It was like, I just need to do this. I need to do that. No, I can't do that. People would ask, but why? Like, why can't we? I just, no. Like, no, like, yeah, you're dead on. I never go against what I feel. People will like, and you're delusional. Stop. Like, you're making a big deal of it. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing it. This is what I have to do. Big time. Yeah. I feel like my whole life I've been on this mission of, I'm here for a reason. A lot of times I'm lost. Like, what is my mission? Like, why am I here? Like, what is the big thing? Like, yeah, I do question that often sometimes.
Yeah. That shows up definitely in your human design, that there's a search, right? Because it's kind of like when you're here on a mission and a higher aspect of your consciousness is working through you in order to get certain things done. The lower aspect of our mind, the practical aspect, is like, what the heck is, what's going on? Like, am I even doing anything? Or am I, like, it just feels kind of like there's a disconnect, right? It's like, I know that I'm on this deeper mission, this deeper purpose, but then the pieces don't always connect right away. Right? It's only when we start tapping into these higher levels of consciousness with age that we see, oh my gosh, this is what that was. That's what I was doing. Yeah. So you can kind of feel a little lost of purpose, because it's, sometimes my guidance is like, go do something like really random that's disconnected from the studies that I've been doing. And it's like, there's no follow through. There's just a bunch of things happening, that I'm being guided towards. But it's like the Jane of all trades, right? And it's like, sometimes that's what the mission is. And sometimes people have very, very specific mission from when they're born. It's like they're just doing that one thing their whole life, And so we're having to work with this inner knowing and this intuition to be okay with like the purpose is there and just trusting the path and trusting that intuition that's coming in.
You're right.
And the pieces do come together. The pieces do eventually expose themselves or reveal themselves in time. Like that's what I found really interesting after my 40s. Like a lot of pieces came into place, and I was like, oh, I'm no longer worried about purpose so much in it being a straight line. I understand that it's very vast and there's a lot of things happening. They all connect and they all eventually reveal themselves.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Patience, right?
Yeah, patience, exactly. So from here, I kind of wanted to take it into this kind of next level, because we have these different phases in life, especially this is confirmed in your human design profile. You have a 4-6 profile. It's the opportunist and role model. And this shows us that you go through 3 distinct phases in your life. Where the first one is like you're just gaining a lot of experience. And then you kind of go into this other phase where you're more observing, so less active. And then the third phase is when like the wisdom really starts coming in, and you're able to bring all the pieces together from your experience and then from the phases of observation into being in the world in a very practical way, but like bringing in this higher consciousness. So there's like 3 distinct phases. And so the phases that we're talking about, like, that you've been using, like being at service with your close relationships with people, kind of having this enmeshed energy and working through this, the energies on an emotional level, and allowing that to transform you and transform others, whether you're in family and, the people you interact with daily, is going to start culminating into another purpose. And that's where we look at your North Star. As the North Star in the chart is basically where you're headed long-term for this life and where you're going. And your North Star is in Aries in the 12th house. So the energy that all the lessons and everything that you've experienced is bringing you forward into Aries, which is, Aries is like, it's the first house. So Aries represents everything to do with the being, with the self, with your body, with who you are, with your identity. And so it's the energy that's complete opposite of the 7th house, which is relationships and having your energy enmeshed and being so kind of like interdimensionally enmeshed with other people. And so it's kind of like the separation phase that's probably going to be happening in your 40s, where you're going to start your energies, you're going to be more independent with yourself in regards to what you're experiencing. It won't be so clouded by you won't be picking up so much on what other people are experiencing. You won't be picking up on like this, subconscious energy that's all around you that you feel so deeply into. And it's going to start to bring you into the selfhood, into really you and your mind. And because it's in the 12th house, it's going to be you, your mind, and your higher self. So your North Star, where you're headed, is really bringing this Jupiter energy of downloads and higher understanding into your physical being and into your spiritual path that's more individual than with other people. So I was like, whoa, this is like such a, it's like, whoa, the energy just switches up, right? Because you're so like, it's just, you probably don't even realize how enmeshed your energy is with your surroundings. Because it could even be with the plants, it could be just this seventh house energy is all about just connection and this marriage to everything around you. Yeah. And then you're going to start to feel, probably you might have felt it already, but this kind of calling that brings you into more having the container, the boundaries of your container into like your physical body and your individual identity.
It's funny you keep doing this. So I'll tell you a little story. I'm on the couch a couple years back, 2 years ago, and meditating, sitting quiet with myself, and I felt this like tingle in my brain. And then as I'm feeling it, I was soaking it in. It felt like a helmet was placed on my head. And then, yeah, it was like a thick, heavy helmet placed on my head. And then after that, it was like that desire to learn. The history was kept coming in, all this knowledge, the occults, the Masons, like since this like helmet was placed on my head. And you keep doing that. And that's what it keeps reminding me of is that time. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's.
Oh, no, I mean.
It was like a helmet, and it was like hooked up, and here you go. What do you want to know? And we're feeding it to you. You're ready now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you come in with a lot of your Saturn. Oh, wait, this is the wrong chart here. Your Saturn is in Sagittarius, 8 degrees in the 8th house. This again is like, going through so many charts, you see different things that are highlighted. Having Saturn in your 8th house means that you have inherent occult knowledge. You were born with deep occult knowledge and things that just come naturally to you about understanding, the mysteries of the universe and how energies work and the natural laws and correspondence and, just like this really mystical way of understanding the world. But this also comes in from the bloodline, right? And part of this is, well, we both know that in the bloodline, there was a lot of accumulation of psychic energy that amassed. And part of it is good. And part of it comes from different aspects that needed to be healed, let's say. There's always different streams that got into the bloodline. Mm-hmm. And it could be connected to the Masons, for example, right? It could be connected to various cults. You can go into all of these. It could be very religious cults, right?
I feel like it's more Templar down. I don't know. Since I was really young, I had this like thought and this feeling. And when I did my ancestry and it came back, and we have the French bloodline that goes back, I don't know. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for me on a personal level, I've had to transmute a lot of that because a lot of that occult knowledge comes in subconsciously. It's just a given. You're born with it. You come in, you're a psychic kid and you're like picking up on all this stuff, having dreams, you could just read people. You're like, whoops, something bad's going to happen there. I'm out of here. And, it's just like so inherent. And then as time goes on, it's learning to distinguish, like I had to distinguish between which energies I needed to close up, right? Part of my mission was to come here and close up certain energies from those bloodlines because they will just come in subconsciously, right? There's certain things that I would do, it's like having a grip on your magical, influences on the world, because there are certain things that I would just bring forth and I'm affecting like so much stuff through this occult knowledge that I have, but it would be subconscious. And then I'd hit these walls of lessons, right? Because it's like, it's not all good occult wisdom, right? A lot of it could be misused, right? Like just having an innate ability to be able to manipulate people, right? Is something that having to distinguish, just because I have this occult knowledge that I could do this and people don't know what's going on, or, just seeing how, oh shoot, I really affected that, like I'm someone that if I have a lot of emotion, like I have to temper my emotions, because if I have very strong emotions, that's when the magic comes out, and I can just start to like, and I feel the magic in the air. It gets very palpable. A lot happens.
Yeah, same.
Right. So, and that's why with all these MK Ultra programs and all that, it's like they're trying to trigger people. And when they trigger people into higher emotional states, that's when the gifts come out, right? Because when people are pressed for survival, that's when they really dig deep to unearth whatever gifts they have to help them fight and, combat what's happening.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's why like tempering my emotions is really important. And I know, okay, I can't go in that situation, because if I go in that situation, I might inadvertently harm someone energetically.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just, right. So it's like we're having to learn as time goes on through life, as we mature. Okay, if I go there, it's really going to bring out this innate occult knowledge that I have. And then
good point.
Right. So
that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a given. This is, you have your Saturn is in the 8th house. So it's like all of this is at your fingertips. You want to, you could use this for, if you want to manipulate people, you want to con people, you want to, anything you'd want to do,
oh, yeah,
you'd be able to do it like at the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I do feel that. I always describe myself as I'm the type, I'll open the door and I'm peeking into the other side where you're not supposed to go. That's crazy dangerous. Like I won't go in, but I'm peeking and I'm like, shh, don't worry, it's fine, and I know when to close it. I know when to open it. I describe myself as that. Like that's me. I'm at the door peeking in, when like I have my friends like, stop, come back.
Yeah. Right. And really,
I'm super curious, but I know when to close it. I know I don't push too far. Like I'm not crazy in the occult, like, yeah, I'm just curious. Like I want to know.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say about the curious cat, right?
Yeah,
it does have
brought it back.
What's that?
But satisfaction brought it back.
But it has 9 lives. It could go 9 times. And I mean, I've, come close to, sometimes I have misused certain occult knowledge just because I'm learning, and you're going about life and you're learning, and then it could really backfire on you. And it could be a life and death situation. Like there's certain things, and we'll feel it. We'll feel it in our bodies. We'll feel it, obviously, when this stuff comes out, the gut really, like the tummy, like you feel your stomach will start to turn. And you're like, ooh, I'm using something in the wrong way. Let me rein back and just observe where I'm putting my energy and how, and then seeing also, what is that's coming through? What part of me, what is this aspect of me, this magical aspect of me that's coming through? And then how can I elevate that to make it its most exalted form, right? A lot of integrity comes in, asking of a lot of integrity from you. And because you have all of this kind of, especially with the Scorpio energy and your sun and, your Mercury and Venus is like it just doubles down on that occult capability. Right. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. So a lot of the wisdom that you're gaining through these interactions with people and how, energies are being transferred, and bringing that to its exalted form and its most beautiful form for your own ascension and for everybody else's, like how to be empowered and how to empower others using it in the best way possible, is what's bringing you to your North Node, which is your North Star. And it has to do with bringing all of that magic and all of those lessons into your being, into your physical body. And this is where there's so many confirmations. I was looking at your chart over and over, and I was going back and forth. And I think that the biggest message that came through with your North Star is you're here for ascension. You're actually here to ascend. I know that word can be used in so many ways, but I don't see it in people's charts very often. True ascension, I'm talking about. And it shows up, your life's work is immortality. And ascension is all about immortality, right? It's about integrating consciousness into the physical body. So the physical body transforms on a cellular level. And you see your purpose, you have it's mirrored here with your life work and your purpose is intent, bringing intention and bringing this higher knowledge and wisdom into your cells, into your physical body, and being able to go from the fantasy to the anticipation to the emanation. And emanation is really where we become God form, right? And we can start to manifest these like instant manifestations with the mind and shift things here on the planet through this ascension process. And so all of the energy is bringing you towards this, but it's going to be in your physical body. So there's going to be a lot to do with diet, a lot to do with bringing your moon's the practical energy of your moon into because when the body goes through ascension, it needs to purify and it needs to recalibrate itself on a higher vibrational level using different elements from the earth, right? Whether that be balancing your minerals, making sure that you have different things in your diet. It could be, adding even different finer metals into your diet, like copper and gold and silver, the colloidal silver and all this stuff. But this is really coming in strong, that there's transformation is happening in your physical body. And this is where all the energy is kind of bringing you for this transformation to happen in your physical body and for yourself and your identity. So I think, who you were when you came in and who you are when you leave is not only going to be like a different person that has grown and evolved through life's challenges, but actually a different vibrational person who's going to have gone through that ascension physically and stepped into a new dimension.
What do you think of aliens?
Well,
Do you believe in that? Like that the other beings and stuff like that?
I believe, there's lots of different realms that are all kind of lots of different. Yeah, so it's more, I see it as consciousness. It's more consciousness. If different forms of consciousness come into this physical realm, they're gonna look different. They're gonna show up like aliens, right? But I see it as a network of consciousness.
So what would you say if like this whole ascension thing, would it be that like if I would be a different being? Like, does that make sense at all to you?
Like you mean you would transform into a different being?
Yeah. Or I belong from a different race maybe, and I came here in this lifetime because I heard the calling.
Yeah, I agree that I'm not from this earth. Like I have the majority of my consciousness. I'm mostly Andromedan and Lyran. That's my soul mission here. So I'm here bringing that consciousness, and it's all about bringing this balance. So I'm having to alchemize everything, alchemize energies. I often feel it in my physical body. So my physical body will transmute energies around me, and I use this vessel to do that. So it's kind of how I see it.
Okay, so I'll tell you, but so off camera, like not recorded.
Okay.
So when I was about 4, situation, her depression, her drinking, and it was crazy. Like from 1 to 4 years old, I was like very angry, sad. I always told her how much I hate her and I want other parents. I don't belong here. You're not my mom. Like I have a different family and I want them back. And then one time she's like, then leave. We got into a big argument. So she used to sleep one day. I get a knock at the door. I open the door and then there's the mom, the dad, and the brother. And they're aliens. They look bluish green. They're wearing like a disguise, like glasses, a hat, a cap, human clothes, but I could see through it all. And I'm standing there holding the doorknob, looking at them like, what's going on? Telepathically, the mom was talking to me saying, you could come back home. We didn't know how hard it was going to be here for you. You could come back. And I was like, no, I got to stay here. My mom, she'll freak. If I leave, I'm a missing person, you know, like I got to stay here with my mom. She looked at dad and then was like scared and shocked. Like she doesn't know who I am. He telepathically back told her, like, I told you, everything's fine. Let's go. And the little boy was sitting there the whole time, just like in shock, like, oh my God, here you are. You don't know who I am. You know, you look different. And then that was it. I told my mom, ran in the house. I woke her up. She's like, you're dreaming. It was just a dream. Years later, it came back to me. And I was like, oh my God, that time. And then again, with the knowledge downloads, like I was curious. I found videos and pieces and books. And I was like, oh my God, I think I was on this soul mission. And yeah, I don't know. What do you grasp with that? Like, I know it sounds so crazy.
No, because I had a guide with me from the age of 0 to 6. And that was, you know, they call it, I mean, if you go see a psychologist, it's like, no, it's her imaginary friend. But it was really a guide from my home planet that was helping me, because as you know, I had a very challenging childhood as well, right? So it's like you kind of, and I still get homesick sometimes, but
yes.
But it's less, because it's like, you know, there's just so much going on, and it's like, well, you got to get to work at one point and do what we're here to do, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's cool. I see it as like a confirmation of it needed to happen, maybe for you to always have that memory, to go back and source, get like nourishment and feel a sense of love and belonging from.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild, eh?
Yeah, super wild. We should put this in the video though, because I think, you know, we're going through a paradigm shift, and people are speaking out more and more, you know. I mean, there's so much out there already, but it's also seeping into little pockets and communities where maybe it's not so common, but you know, it's very common in many.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, so you know, we can share that, because I think it is an important part of helping people remember their memories, right? Because a lot of, like, I don't know if you feel that sense of amnesia that comes over, but every now and then, whatever they're pumping out, you know, whether it be with CERN or with different.
Oh my God, I was just talking about CERN yesterday with my best friend. That's so crazy. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's talking about CERN because they just started it up again after.
Exactly. And all the weather and everything happening, and, you know, the headaches. I don't know, like I've been getting headaches for the past like 6 months now, all up the back of my neck. And I feel like it's more of a tension than anything else. Like right up my spine. I'm feeling it now as we're talking. You know? Like stretch my neck. Like, and I'm sure it's like some kind of frequency that I'm picking up.
Yes. So, you know, that I think is part of this whole like work that you're doing with the cells, and bringing the intention into the cells, and the ascension work is a lot to do with the body. And, you know, it's confirmed here, but I've also just picked up on this strongly as an intuitive understanding. When I was reading your charts, I was like, okay, there's something going on with physical ascension with the body that needs to be highlighted. And I don't usually bring this information up in sessions, you know. It's like, depending on the person, I'll go to different, speak on different levels, but this is something coming in really strong. So you're having to do, I don't know what kind of exercise, you know, whether it's Qigong or some sort of stretching or breath work, or even, you know, different yoga routine, like, you know, and it could be hardcore sports as well, like whether it's swimming or tennis or running, but there's something that needs to be transformed on the cellular level. And then, you know, getting the minerals in there is going to help that to take place. But I think that's really where your North Node is bringing it into the full body, is all of this higher consciousness wants to come in, right? Through your Jupiter in Pisces in the 12th house at 13 degrees. Like, You know, it's gonna be coming in no matter what. So you better prepare your body, type of thing.
Okay. And what mineral, like I know I'm low iron already to begin with, and I'm missing vitamin K's and stuff like that. How would you recommend to like replenish minerals?
Well, I take trace minerals. So I take natural trace minerals because you can get minerals that are made in a laboratory, and then you can get natural trace minerals from salt lakes. So I take natural trace minerals, and then I'll get an intuition about something. Like sometimes I'll go on a colloidal silver. Like I've done that in the past where I'm like, I need to take colloidal silver, or you just keep on thinking about, a specific mineral, and then I'll research it and I'll see what it's used for. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's something I could use because I'm having issues with that. So I kind of go about it intuitively. But there are very good like nutritionists out there, right? And herbalists. Like I'm really drawn to Chinese medicine because part of my ancestry goes into that area of the world. And so I'm always connecting with that matrix of consciousness.
My ancestry chart came back. I have like, I think it's 2 point something percent Chinese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, those charts a lot of them have been debunked. I'm just going to be straightforward.
Right, yeah.
If you, depending on the company, while they're trying to harvest DNA samples from people, that's part of it. So they went out on this big thing because it's part of, the whole modifying DNA, and also being able to capture people who have specific DNA, being able to capture those DNA sequences, and then being able to replicate them in the laboratory for use so that people can inject different RNA that will, alter their blood to have more of some of the gifts.
I fought with that back and forth when I was going to do it. I'm like, they're taking my DNA. Do I just willingly do this? Or I just had this longing because, with Tony and everything. So it was like, who am I? Who am I? And I was dying to know.
Yeah, for sure. I get it. I totally get it. But I don't recommend it to people because I have had people who have done 3 different ones with 3 different companies and the results come out differently.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that they're all wrong. It just means that the way they're testing is different and stuff like that. But I know that we have some interesting things in the bloodline, that's for sure. And you can just intuitively kind of pick up, I think, even going back, like if you're connecting strongly with a specific culture over and over and over again, it could be from a past life, but it could be within the bloodline, and things are kind of coming up because this is part of your gifts, right? It's in your blood, and it's your ancestors who work super hard to really master these gifts, and then it keeps on coming back and showing itself. And it could be a completely different culture than what that person is part of. That's what's interesting too, there you are. How much did you lose? I can't hear you.
There we go. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No worries. I don't know where you left me off.
We were talking about the minerals and how intuitively we know what to take in, and because I'm definitely missing some vitamins, minerals.
Yeah. So playing on that level, I think would be really, really good for you. Like looking at someone's chart, that's kind of where I would go with it, because Aries, your North Star it's all about the body. Aries is the body, it's the physical body, and it's the personal identity. So there's a lot of, learning maybe to distinguish between the intuitive energies. Like if you're children or something, you're picking up on, vitamin C, or you might have all these kind of intuitive things kind of enmeshed with other people. And I think the Aries in the North Node in the 12th house is really bringing you into your own energy and learning to distinguish the intuitions that you have about the self versus the other.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to share this quickly again, just in case we want to close up. And I don't know if you have. Oh yeah, I did want to bring in something else that I think is really important regarding like your North Node and where you're headed. Even in your Vedic astrology, you have your Rahu in Pisces in the 12th house as well, in Ravati. So it's about the purification of the self through higher consciousness. So it confirms itself again here. And a lot of the ways that this is going to happen, I think, for you as you slowly disconnect from other people's energies and aren't so entangled with other people's energies on a psychic level, is going to be through bringing forth your art from this like really connected space with this higher consciousness, because a lot of it centers around art and expression of art. So that's another pattern that shows up through your chart. And you're going to be moving when you're 38 now?
35.
Oh, 35, sorry, yeah. So when you're 39, you're going to be moving from this water, being at service so much with other people, and this being at kind of, sacrificing in a lot of instances your identity for family, friends, and you're going to really start to come into your own energy. And there's going to be a lot of emotion still. That Scorpio energy is still going to be really present, but it's going to be working on the self. Okay. And it's going to do it through creation. So a lot of that, like whatever emotions you're feeling, or, whatever energies are going on within you, you're going to want to create with it. And that's going to allow you to ascend like on a mental level, right? And on the expression of art is the most precious thing we have in the world, because when we're doing something artistic, we're bringing forth like a vibration that is all encompassing, right? Like it brings people into a state, right? You can look at an art piece and it's going to bring you into a whole other world. Like it'll take you away, right? It will sweep you off your feet, and it will inspire you to even like change your whole life, right? Art has the power of doing that, and it has the power of tapping into the subconscious mind of the viewers. So like you can easily encode things into the art that you create on a very subconscious level in order to bring about like change and inspiration, right? So there's a lot of this energy, but it's going to be playful. It's you have night, so you're going to move into earth, which is the making the earth rumble with your emotions, right? You're just going to kind of be like vibrating, like, and it's going to affect everything around you. And the night is the shamanic energy on your feminine side, and then monkey is the kind of playful, creative side that you're going to be able to bring in. So there's going to be a lot of self-leadership, and I think that's going to come into play. I don't know if you create art. I wanted to ask you because it was so much in your chart.
I don't do art normally at all. When COVID hit, I started painting a little bit with Venus, and it's not bad. Like, I'm not bad. Mm-hmm. But I never got into it. No.
So I wonder what form that's going to express itself, because it could be writing.
Totally wondering that.
Yeah, it could be in writing. It could be, there's so many ways to express art, singing. Yeah, it could be poetry. It could be, visual stuff, like who knows, but there's going to be something that's going to be focused in, I think, on that level from what I observe. Researching starts with like, looking at all these different charts. First, I start with the Western, and then I go to the Vedic, because the Vedic has a lot of knowledge in terms of the nakshatras, which really hone in on the energy of that like that particular degrees, and it can give you a lot of insight as well. So I'm going to send you a picture of all of these things so you can access them. And, you know, people often will spend like 3 months or 6 months just like looking through their chart and researching. You know, you might get a hit on, you might be like, you know, I want to look Uranus, sudden changes. What within my consciousness just like provokes sudden changes, right? And since Sagittarius, higher learning. Ooh, again, the 8th house, like everything to do with, you know, this, the occult and this like mystical, you know, underworld. And, you know, so there's a lot of sudden changes happening on that level for you. So you would want to, you know, you would want to go and look at all these different planets, and then see, mostly through YouTube. You know, you can cross-reference on YouTube, just watch like 2-3 videos. You don't like the vibe of the person, just close it and then open another one and really see what these energies are telling you, you know, about yourself. Because you have a really, really interesting chart. I've read a lot of charts, and your chart's really interesting, and I think it would be interesting for you to look into it yourself, you know, when you have questions come up, or just even like dig into it and spend a few months checking it out. So even I'm just looking at your chart, you know, Neptune, which is all about like this connection with spirit, your connection to spirit, and how this energy moves through you, is in Capricorn, like this hardworking energy coming out of the 9th house, again, this higher learning. And you know, there's probably more and more interests that are going to come in, like these downloads that you get about researching this or researching that, and then this bigger picture is going to form. And I think they say the two things to look out for on the road is like, you know, not starting at all and then not going far enough. So I think what's encompassing here is, you know, you're really having to go all the way. That's what I would recommend with your studies and the insights that come in and everything, because it will come together and formulate this like bigger picture of understanding that you'll be able to bring forth. Yeah. So do you have any questions about any of this?
I don't know. Everything was just so exciting, and yeah, you're spot on. Everything makes sense. Everything resonates with me a lot. Take care. Have a good day.
You too.
Believing in the sun, earth, water, and air, take me there, so I can see the world bloom. Standing on a sea cliff, howling at the moon. Creating a world for the open-minded, a unique perception of truth inside it. I know we could find it. It's just a matter of where and when we collectively decided. The world is not a vicious place. It's just the way we've been raised, discovering time and space. I know that we could make a change, rearrange the way that we appreciate.